welcome to the Ask Pitch Anything show. We said, does anybody have questions? Could you please stop thousands of people sending questions? We have to answer all these already. It's going to tire me out. All right, so lots of questions. This is from @Greg Blom. Did I mess this up already? Sorry. I was told not to mess this up or I'm going to get the hook. All right. So Greg, look, here's a question you asked. What emotion do you want to evoke in a customer when initially presenting a new idea? So I don't know about emotion, because emotions tend to be excitement, sadness, happiness, a bunch of other sort of melancholy. So those are all emotions. But I know the one thing you want to evoke is tension, right? So what I see in a lot of sales presentations, especially when introducing a new idea, is that the prospect, the target, the investor, the person you're pitching to, the committee, the audience, doesn't feel anything. All right? So you want to push on them and give them a sense of tension that they might not be relevant to the idea. That would cause, so an emotion might be distress. What causes them unhappiness? You might want to let them know something about yourself and cause them surprise, make yourself inaccessible. But what should be between you and the prospect should be tension. So I think when you think about emotion, you want to make sure that they are a little bit scared, a little bit surprised, a little bit want to defend their position, defend their turf. You want them to not be 100% in agreement with you. You want them to feel something, right? Some kind of emotion, and you create that with tension. So that's how I would take that down. If you give me some more specifics, I don't know, are we selling ice to Eskimos? Are we selling railroad cars? Are we selling jet fighters? Are we selling birthday cakes? A little bit more specific, and I can tell you. All right, next question from @YoungCDerek. Hey, what's the best way to elevate status with a referral from a client in financial services? So I think that means if I get referred to a new customer, in terms of going to that new customer, how do I position myself with the most amount of status possible? You really only have one or two tools to do that. And I would say in terms of meeting a new customer, you've got to establish scarcity for yourself. You establish scarcity in really one way. I'm super busy, jammed up this week. Maybe Wednesday next week could work. Do you have some time? So one of the ways you think about raising status is just not to lower it. Right? So there's a couple ways to raise it, scarcity, just in the way I said. But you want to make sure not to lower it. How do you lower it? Immediately after you get the referral, to send an email. If they don't respond to the email, within a couple hours, send another one. Blow up their phone with a text. Hit them on Twitter and just pester them. Or if they respond to you, reply immediately. I'm available any day this week. Well, you want to meet on Tuesday. Do you want to meet on Wednesday? If you can't meet on Wednesday, I can do Thursday. If you can't do Thursday, I can do Friday. I can meet at the weekend. I can meet after hours. When are you available? All that stuff. Lower status, you want to mess with it. So again, raise status with scarcity. Hey, I'm super busy, jammed up this week. How about Wednesday next week? Does the afternoon work? And don't devolve into these status-lowering behaviors, which are, I'm available any day this week. If you're not available Tuesday, I can do Wednesday. If you're not available Wednesday, I can do Thursday. When do you want to meet? I'm really flexible. You tell me. Word flexible should not be in your vocabulary. Get rid of it. Okay, so that's how to deal with that. These are good. This is from @TweetZachSmith. Thank you. Hey, Oren, loved your book and your storytelling. I listened to it all in one sitting, and I think that's amazing because I couldn't even read it all in one sitting. It took like 12 sittings to read it. You get tired. All right. Hey, love your job. How did you get started? So maybe we'll go to the whiteboard for this. So my job is to raise money for companies, and if you think about the economics, it's really good, right? So if I raise $10 million for a company, sounds like a lot of money, but it's not that much. Companies raise $10 million all the time. Let's say I would get a 7% fee on that, right? So $700,000 fee for doing that. And you can raise, one guy like me can do a bunch of this in a year with a small team. So this is good. How do you get this job where you're making $700,000 a couple times a year? Obviously, that doesn't just fall in your lap. You got to do some work to get that job. So here's how I'd explain it. 3 steps to getting this job. Number 1, find a growth company to work at. All right? So a growth company is what I would call the revenues are increasing, let's call it 25 to 50% a year. Be a growth company, right? Some people would think about a growth company sort of being that they're raising money, adding employees, getting users, something like Dropbox or Snapchat or some. Those, in fact, are growth companies, but much more difficult to raise money for. So I like companies that have revenue that's growing 25 to 50% year over year. Step 2. So at these companies, you sort of have, at a growth company, you have product development, right? You have management, and management does stuff like you have a chief marketing officer, you have a chief financial officer, you have the CEO, and this is marketing. This is probably, some sort of accounting. You have then logistics, technology. Okay, so you got management, you have a CEO, a chief marketing officer does marketing, somebody does product development, you got a CFO heading up accounting, you have technology, and you have logistics. So step 2 is step 2A is to stay away from all of these divisions. Okay, don't do marketing, don't do product, don't do accounting, don't do logistics, don't do technology. There's usually, so this is not a position, right? You get in with the CEO, and that's sort of the secret here is you talk to the CEO or the senior management, and you say, I want to help on capital raising. So if you imagine going to a restaurant and there's sort of this secret menu that isn't published, but it's very good, this is the secret menu for this job. So you talk to the CEO and you say, hey, my skills, maybe it's financial modeling, maybe it's using Excel, maybe it's business development, maybe it's just scheduling, maybe it's just, hardcore assistantness. Is that a word? No. Assistantness is not a word? What's the word? Terminology. Assisting. There's something in here that your skill set, but this is the hidden position is, hey, I want to work on the capital raising team. That's out of the org chart. It's not talked about. You don't go to company-wide meetings or meetings and they go, hey, we're looking for people, the capital raising team, but you got to get on that capital raising team, right? That's where the money is. That's where you get the experience of raising money. The capital raising team is only going to be fluid and dynamic and available in a growth company, right? So for my job, step 3 to get my job is succeed. So 3A is succeed on this capital raising team. So you understand the business, you have a success, you can talk to other people about. And then step 3, that's an A. And step 3B is find a new growth company. Find a new growth company. Are we still on the? We're still on the screen. If you can't read my writing, that says find a new growth company. But this time you come in and say, I'm experienced on the capital raising team, right? I want a success fee for helping raise the capital. Step 1, find a growth company. Step 2, get on the capital raising team. Step 3, succeed on that team. Step 3B, leave that company after some period of time, on good terms, of course, and find a new growth company, but on the basis of being on the capital raise team when you come in on a success fee for helping raise the capital. That's the progression, okay? So, boom. All right, next question. Let me go back to this comfortable seat here. All right, so this is from at Tom Eater. Should I pitch angels when I'm pre-revenue? Or, am I tilted on this camera? I look tilted. Anyway, I look good tilted, untilted, doesn't matter. You can film me from any angle. It's not tilted. Sorry, Thomas. At Tom Eater, should I pitch angels pre-revenue or post-revenue? Which is better, right? How much bootstrapping is too much bootstrapping? So we got to do this on the board again. You can pitch an angel with this business plan right here. Nothing. All right. Lots of investors come into ideas, and lots of angels come into deals when there's already revenue and proof of concept. So if I go back over to the board here, I think we deal with this over here. So if we think about your career over time, is hopefully going to look like this. This is your career. Over here, let's call this the 1970s. If you're on Twitter, you probably weren't born yet. Okay, so you happen. This is you graduate high school, college. You graduate college, and you are not worth much money because you're not good at much, and you haven't done anything, and you have no track record. Here, you have been, say, 2 years in some kind of job, and here you've been 15 years in Silicon Valley. All right? You just graduated college. You have 2 years of job in a related field. I'm assuming you're talking about sort of a tech company, or Tom, or a capital efficient company, healthcare, medicine, something that's not iron ore or manufacturing. So this really applies to Valley and high tech jobs, right? So the question again is, should I raise capital from angels before I have revenue or after I have revenue? So one way to look at it is, if your career is somewhere out, and if your career is somewhere out here, where you've got years in the business, or someone with years in the business, all right, and you've got a track record, and you've got credibility, and you've got a career you can rely on, and people can have some visibility into your skills and ability as an entrepreneur and executive, and there's some kind of track record, you can go pre-revenue pretty easily. In fact, when people come to me and they say, I don't understand, my company has $2 million of revenue, we're having trouble raising money. This idiot just raised $50 million, doesn't even have a business yet. How is that possible? Because people trust him, there's visibility into his execution capability. This guy can raise, $250,000 to $50 million pre-revenue. Now let's go back, way over here. College graduate, there's no revenue, it's just an idea, there's no sense of track record or execution capability or experience in the business or anything like that. Over here, you're going to have a lot more difficulty. And so I think even, if you don't have that career track record, even if you have revenue, sometimes from angels, 500,000 is hard to $1 million. So I think you have to consider your credibility and the depth of your career and how much visibility there is into your history of executing. If it's excellent, you raise money pre-revenue on your track record and who you are, and you can get all kinds of money. If you come back here, you've only been in the working, you don't have much of a track record, you're going to need revenue, and B, you're probably going to settle for a small amount of money. Right? So that's about as well as I can deal with that issue. And I used 3 different colors. Yeah, very good. The way I think about this is, do people go fresh out of college and raise money? Sure, all the time, right? But when you see Snapchat raised money, or you see something on TechCrunch or Business Insider about somebody raised money, you have to understand that is an anomaly. So does it happen? For sure. 1,000 college students are out, 10,000 college students are out right now looking for $1 million. A couple of them are going to get it. Now, if you use this model here, it's much more predictive of who's going to get money. So I would say if people are raising money in my model, see, I'm an investment banker. I work on certainty. I don't go, could it happen? Might it happen? Should it happen? I don't deal with any of that. I go, what will happen? All right. So if you have a good track record, you can easily go out pre-revenue, tell people you got an idea in your head, raise money. If you don't have a track record, you're a college student, show up with some revenue, a solid idea, show some execution, and raise a small amount of money. That's how the world works. If you want the world to work differently, you need to get lucky. I don't survive on luck. I survive on reliably understanding how the world of finance really works. If you want to go with luck, go with luck. I don't care. If you want to have a certainty, you want to tell people you're going to raise money and then come back and actually have done it with a high degree of reliability, then you do it my way. If you want to roll the dice, do it somebody else's way. I don't care. All right. Does that make sense? All right, fine. Here's a good one after that. So this is from @RickF65. Hey, Oren, how often do your techniques offend people? Hey, Rick. We don't have to blur that. Do we have to blur it?
Just blurring it.
You're blurring it? All right.
You flip off your tweet followers.
Rick,
You're going to blur it.
we're not going to blur it. Rick. Hear me out. The reason it seems like the stuff I do is offensive, I'm trying to help you understand the framework in which to say these things. If I say it too nicely, it won't register in your thick skull, which I can see from this question. You obviously have one. How to do it. Now, you want to overlay the things I'm saying in probably a softer, kinder, gentler way. So, for example, I might explain to you, if you have an investor and they're giving you some difficulty, you might say to them, look, John, I don't understand why you're behaving in this way. You don't look like a real investor when you are acting on such a slow timeline. Because real investors in early stage startups understand term sheet in 30 days, financing 30 days later, 60 days. The schedule you're working on is 90 days. It doesn't make any sense to me why, and it begs your credibility. So I'll say it that way, right? But if I actually have to be in that meeting, and I can understand why you would think that would offend someone, but I have to be in that meeting, and I'm in your shoes, I would say the exact same thing, but like this. So John, we're really interested in having you in the project. We've gone through a bunch of meetings together, and it seems like you're a great fit. One thing that leaves us scratching our head a little bit is that the timeline we're working on, we're about at 30 days. We don't have a term sheet yet, and we know from experience that a startup like us really shouldn't spend more than 60 days raising money. You want us to be successful. We want ourselves to be successful. We need to focus on building our products and marketing and getting customers. And all the time we're spending not, raising money and not building product takes us away from running our business. So startups, I think, over time have really learned to limit the time they're soliciting investors to get term sheets to about 30 days, and then about 30 days for legal and closing. And it looks like at the pace we're moving, you're going to blow way past that first 30-day mark to get a term sheet. Could you just tell us a little bit about how you think about startups and financing and how you fit in this world? Because again, we're just kind of puzzled, scratching our heads, and we'd like to open this to you and explain to us how you think about timelines and how you think about what a company at our stage should be doing, raising money or focusing on product and customers. And we'd love to hear from you a little bit so we can understand whether to go further with you or if we should all just throw up our hands and say, it's too confusing, let's do something different. So, all right, it's a different tone, but you understand the framework. So, do I offend people? I don't think so. If you give people reasonable, clear choices in clear, unequivocating language, they feel like they're in the hands of a professional and they do not get offended. If you're being reasonable and professional and you're based on experience and you're not asking to do anything outside the norm and they get offended, right? It's because they didn't want to do the deal and they're using that as an excuse to bail. So that I'm sure of. Okay. Let's see if we can fit another question in here. This is from at Rob W. Jensen. Hey, thanks. Clearly, status and local star power help win the game. Clearly. To that end, what should a luxury realtor drive? What kind of car should a luxury realtor drive? It's a tongue twister. Well, clearly, a luxury realtor shouldn't drive anything. He should be driven around, sit in the back, luxury. So when I think of luxury, I think of Malibu, $10 million houses, $15 million houses, Beverly Hills, San Francisco, Monaco, Geneva, Zurich, right? 10, 15, $20 million houses. If I'm buying a house like that from a realtor, I want him to show up in the back of a car on the phone using a laptop. Luxury realtor show up in the back of a Maybach. He's not driving himself anywhere. Boom. Okay, I think that's it for today. We'll see you next time on Ask Pitch Anything.